This picture is not glaring.
It's not.
I would not use that as a beautiful funny picture, but
Some of these need to be redone. Yeah. Like, did you see Nelson picture? Like, it's his old picture. He's like way too forward in the picture. It needs to be redone. Not very proportional.
30.
Who's running the meeting?
Are we all set to?
Mark, are you gonna run it?
Yeah, unless you want to, go ahead.
You got it.
All right. I'd like to call the Safer Board of Directors meeting to order. Since it's 5:30, if we could all pledge allegiance, stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Sharon, do take attendance and roll call. Did you hear me?
Yeah, she'll get it 1 second. She's gotta let somebody into the.
Sounds good. Thank you.
we should say I.
Okay. Cronin,
Here.
Colvin,
Here.
Maloney,
Here.
Langenham, and Opal are both absent and excused.
Okay. Thank you very much. B, correspondence comments from the public on issues or matters which the Safer Board of Directors has oversight over. Anybody present or anybody online that would like to have any comments or public comments? Any public comments? Number 2. Anybody online for public comments? Moving on to C, consent items. Approval of prior meeting minutes, January 13th, 2026. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Cronin, second by Colden. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Number 5, approval of expenditures and receipts, January of 2026.
Make the motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Colden,
Second.
second by Cronin. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. D, presentation, 2025 annual report.
Okay,
I apologize for my voice. What am I doing wrong here? Sure. Sure. All right, here we go. All right, the annual report is in your packet. I'm just gonna highlight a few things. Start off with the chief's introduction. The next section is staff photos broken up by shift. And then part-timers and interfacility. Next is the staffing report. This is the first year in a number of years that we've actually increased our part-time staff. We had an 88% retention rate for the staff that were hired in 2025, which is really good. We had a really good class come in of part-timers. So that's good to see an increase in staff. Commendation recipients.
Eric, can you blow that up a little bit?
Yeah.
I just don't know. If anybody's trying to look at it online, it might be tough to see.
So every year we give out 3 commendations, an EMS service commendation, firefighter service commendation, excellence in leadership award. The 2 commendations, staff, we have a plaque in the front foyer where their name goes, and then they get a commendation bar that goes on their uniforms. And then excellence in leadership is a plaque that we get for the recipient. These awards are nominated by staff and then the officer group goes over the nominations and decides who's gonna get them. So this year, Lieutenant Zeller is getting the leadership award. Firefighter Ryan, well, actually Engineer Ryan Hazley, recently promoted, is getting the firefighter service commendation. And then firefighter paramedic Mackenzie Cordova will get the EMS service commendation. Those awards will be presented in March when we'll do an award ceremony in conjunction with the board meeting and the commission meeting. And present those awards and do some badge pinnings and some other things. We have another award. We have an administrative commendation. So firefighter Chad Allen was nominated for the administrative commendation bar just for going above and beyond what his responsibilities are. Specifically, he did a lot of work with the EMS committee and working with some administrative and logistical tasks through EMS supply and different things, helping Callie out that he didn't have to do and was not required of him, just going above and beyond. So firefighter Allen will get that commendation next month also. Next is the EMS report from EMS Division Chief Callie Gordon. You can see here our EMS response data. So 2,844 calls. Those calls are comprised of our 2,704 911 calls, our interfacility calls together. And then calls by station. Call volume by municipality, Weston continues to be highest call volume. Village of Remont was actually lower than we thought it was. We thought those numbers were closer to the past, they have been. And then the distribution across. There are a couple errors in the packet. One of those errors is the town of Easton, which has been corrected. Top 10 dispatch reasons remain similar to previous years. And then this year we added number of patients by age just to kind of get a demographic of what we're seeing on ambulance. This year we did have 11 patients under 1 year old and more than one of them was a code. It was kind of a trying year for pediatrics this past year. Fire and Rescue Division report by Steve Genrick is there. Fire response data, 483 fire calls between the municipalities, 72 mutual aid calls that were given. Apparatus responses, we had 1,113 responses through those 483 calls. And the reason that there's more responses than there are calls is because we're not just responding to fire calls, we're responding to EMS calls and mutual aid calls. So this year we really wanted to show how much work the staff is actually doing, and the call volume only tells a fraction of what the work volume is.
Can I interject there real quick?
Yeah.
I think that chart is extremely important because most fire departments, and when I say most, it's about 99%. If we have a call for an ambulance call and it's an ambulance response and then an engine or rescue responds along with, the vast majority of fire departments, that's 2 calls. That's the way they count it. We count it as 1. So when you compare call volumes, take that into consideration is that and many other departments will also put in, like, if you go do a fire prevention activity, they come back and do a NIPERS report. So when they do their reports, that's a call. We don't do that. So that's why Eric and I talked about that and ways to make that so it was accurate. And he came up with the idea of doing the calls and the responses to kind of show those numbers.
So that's highlighted on a graph a little bit further down. Fire responses per year. I went back and looked at data to see how many actual fire responses we have been doing. And you can see there was a jump in 2023 with the amount of times that we were responding to EMS calls and not just fire calls. Fire scene staffing was down again in 2025 with an average of 5.16 firefighters per fire scene. Keep in mind that's an average. So why is it 5.16 when we have a minimum of 6 firefighters? Well, it's because when we go on fire alarms, sometimes it's just an engine of 4 people. But that really highlights that the times that it is an actual fire, we have more people on scene that we just don't have the off-duty response like we did. NFPA says, NFPA puts us in the classification of a career fire department. This is something we learned while we were doing the SAFER grant. We were considering ourselves a combination fire department and putting ourselves to the 1720 standard for volunteer and combination fire departments, which says you need to have 10 or 15 people on scene within 10 minutes or something like that. But this standard, 1710, which is where we fall, according to the federal government, they're saying we should have 16 firefighters on scene, initial response, and 17 firefighters if we have a truck response, and that's to a residential for a department our size. If it's a commercial property, we should have 27 firefighters, initial response, and 28 firefighters with a truck. So that's what NFPA says, based on a lot of testing and different things that have been done in the past. We use mutual aid to supplement so that we can get to that number. And part of that is the staffing that we have requested over the last 18 plus months. Next page is cumulative response data. So the first graphic there is the graphic that we put out on Facebook that just highlights what we've done through the year. So 3,216 calls, that was our call volume for 2025. If you go down to the next graph, that's where we put our call volume next to our responses. So
This is what I was referring to
Yeah.
before I get a little ahead of myself.
this is where other departments, they will say that they had 4,368 calls. But we didn't. We had 3,216 calls. But because of the dual response and responding with EMS and fire, we're showing responses. The other thing is some departments also count a response for every individual truck that responds, which is, I think, overinflating your numbers a bit. This number, that 4,368, is a fire and EMS divisional response. So some of those 4,368 have one fire truck, two fire trucks, three fire trucks, four fire trucks. It just depends on, is it a car accident? Is it a structure fire? Is it an EMS call? With our software, we're able to put heat maps in, and it really shows where our call volume is throughout the two municipalities. And you can see the red in Weston, that's a lot of nursing homes. That south red is Birchwood Highlands and Pride TLC, right? And then to the right is Renaissance. And then on the Rib Mountain side, on the top, that's one of our nursing homes, and then the Ski Hill. And then our other red spots are
Basically.
Rib Mountain Drive, like Walmart, and then there's a nursing home there. But you can really see where the call volume is. We have one outlier in Weston, out to the east by County Road J. That's a new group home that went in the last like 12 to 18 months, and we have been there a lot.
I got a quick question. I was just looking at the fire and EMS response graph. So it looks like from 2020 to 21, there was a significant jump, and then it plateaued a little bit and then it dropped off. Is that because of the way that you guys changed the way that that you were reporting runs?
You're talking about this graph here?
Yes.
It's less interfacility transfers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what's making up the difference.
And we did change, the rescue is responding more. We have changed the number of ambulances that were responding in that time frame. So we're responding with 2 ambulances, and then we'll call for mutual aid and respond with the rescue in order to make sure that we have some fire coverage in the district. So there were a number of changes in that 2022, 2023 area that affected responses and call volume.
Okay.
Concurrent calls. So for the annual report, I broke it all the way down. Because in my reports, I have 1 call, 2 call, and 3 call. So I mean, I broke it all the way down. So we had one occurrence last year that we had 6 concurrent calls at the same time, which is a little frightening. 5 times that we had 5 concurrent calls, 22 times that we had 4 concurrent calls. Those 28 responses, we absolutely 100% called mutual aid for. The 187 3 concurrent calls, it's probably 50% of those at least that we called mutual aid for. And if not a higher number, I'm not exactly sure. It'd take a lot of effort to pull that number on how many of those Josh and I responded to, or Callie and I, or Callie and Josh responded to in order to cover that 3rd concurrent call. Fire inspection report data. This is where the data in your report is not accurate. It has annual inspections of like 1,700. The math was just wrong. These are the correct numbers. So the annual inspection should be 1,390 and the number of re-inspections should be 1,148, which brings total inspections for the year to 2,587 between annual inspections, re-inspections, and specialty type inspections. It's not 3,216 or 19. That's in your report. There's just a math error. This is kind of the breakdown of inspections by municipality. This number is extremely difficult for us to get just because of the way inspections are and the way they're that they're documented and our ability to say, okay, so this property needs to be inspected twice in a year. So we inspect it in January and July, or we inspect it in July and December. But that December month, if you can't get in and you get in January, now it's pushing numbers back and forth. So it takes a lot of effort to get this number and get it as accurate as we can. Training division report by Battalion Chief Myers. He put together this graph this year, which is a real nice breakdown of kind of the training topics that we did throughout the year. Officer development training at 6%. That was up because we ran an officer development class that we do in-house for newly promoted, one newly promoted engineer, and then a number of individuals who want to be promoted. Our policy for promotion to an officer position is you have to take our officer development and be Officer 1 certified for in-house promotions. That ends up being about 40 hours worth of classroom and kind of hands-on activities that we do with them. Other than that, you can see technical rescue 16, fire EMS response or training is almost evenly split. The hours remain strong at 5,735, a tick up from last year, but in line. And then we have some training pictures from different trainings throughout the year. Health and safety report. So the number of injuries we had this year was down at 3, but our workers' compensation claim was up because the one of the injuries was a hospital or a ER visit. One injury was no visit, and the 3rd injury, she's been off now since October, November, still on light duty. She has a torn ligament, and we're hoping she'll be back in March. But it's going to be like a total of 6 months that she's been off on light duty. Our light duty really helps reduce that number. Without light duty, that 21,000 would be double probably. We have much higher number. So we do everything we can to offer people light duty. Advanced physical therapy is a new program that we brought in this year and funded. It's free for the employees, so they come 1 day a week for 2 hours and do physical therapy for our staff. And this just kind of breaks down utilization per quarter and year to date. The next graph, if you look at it, they look at like national data, and basically what this says is in the budget, it cost us $10,080 for this program. But they saved us over $20,000 in potential Or actually, it's more than that. You'd have to add these numbers together probably.
It's 21.3 is the net.
Oh, it is. So we saved over 21,000, in potential workers' comp claims or ER visits or whatnot, because they deal with injuries on duty and off duty. The public relations report by Glenn Novak. And then some pictures of our public relations, and we have some pictures of interns. I don't know if I highlighted it in there, but this last year in 2025, we were at 74 documented events. So standbys, public relation events, or that includes like Cadot and festivals and whatnot. That was up from 2024, where we were at 71 events. Fleet information, the only new vehicle we got last year was the re-chassis on Med 5. There's a picture of the re-chassis right after it was done. So that's been in service. And then closing remarks. Really the highlight of the closing remarks is how spectacular the internship has been over the last 6 to 9 months. 3 people that we hired the right 3 people for sure. Abby, Logan, and Parker, they've been outstanding. They work seamlessly with the crews. All 3 of them are fire and EMT trained. They go on EMS calls, they go on fire calls. They do interfacility transports off duty. And right now they're in the paramedic class. They've been outstanding, all 3 of them. And it's been an exceptional program. So with that, that's the annual report. If anybody has any questions for me, I will do my best to.
Well done, Eric. Excellent report.
Very good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Do you plan to post it to Facebook following
Following this meeting, tomorrow it'll get posted.
Yes.
Put it
If
down.
we shared it then to our page,
That's
And then, I
that
will
in-
also,
go ahead.
I was gonna say that I'll send it, or Eric will send it actually to each clerk, to Pam and to Lene. And then, if you guys want to put it on your agendas for your next board meetings, you certainly can, like, go through your full boards. If you don't want to, that's fine too. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, I think
If it's in there, you want to review it, I'm more than happy to do that.
The way it gets posted on Facebook, it's a link. You can't post a document, right? So we will upload it onto our website, and then it'll be a link on Facebook to our website.
You do provide it in the reports to our village board meeting is next week Tuesday. Would some be on hand just to give a
Next week, Tuesday, yeah, I'll
condensed
be there.
version of it?
Yep.
Okay. thank
Yep.
you.
good idea. And that internship is just a huge win. I mean, that's something that we should be definitely celebrating. Just outstanding. Great report. Thank you all.
Welcome.
Good. Any more questions? All right, moving on to E, business item 7, discussion and possible action on contract with Chippewa Valley Music Festivals.
Got a copy of a contract in there. This is for the Chippewa Valley Music Festivals. Is the big one everybody probably knows is Country Fest and Rock Fest. Country Fest is now called Hoofbeat. Rock Fest is still the same, and they added another one called Force Fields. So we changed the contract. We increased our rate fairly substantially. The total cost that we presented to them was $40,000 for all 3 events, which they agreed to. So I was just looking for the board approval to move forward with that.
Thank you. What's your pleasure? Gentlemen,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
motion to approve by Cronin, second by Colden. Any more on the discussion?
I just want to add one thing. This was not budgeted revenue, because I was not sure if we were gonna get the contract or not, so that'll be an extra $40,000 revenue that was not on the budget.
Excellent. All right, with no more further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? So carried. Number 8, discussion and possible action on investing of public funds.
All right, so myself and Cher met with Carrie, I always get it wrong. Carrie from People's Bank, a couple weeks ago. And it was mostly in regard to going over to make sure she had all the correct signers and everything still on our account and just a little bit of a review. When she was here, I talked with her about potentially investing our money. We have a fair amount of money that sits in the bank at all times, you know, between EMS revenue coming in and all the different things. So I talked to her about putting that into somewhere that earns a little bit more interest. So she talked to me about, and Jessica can jump in here if I'm getting any of this wrong, but we're in a public funds, non-interest checking account. That's where all of our money sits. And we can move that into a public funds interest account. As of that day, the interest rate on that account is 3.82%. And the money will remain liquid when it's in that account. So if we need to pull it out, we can. But there is a set number of transactions. I got mixed answer whether it was 6 or 8 per month, but either way, that would be more than we would ever use. So if we had to pull money out, we could do a minimum of 6 transactions per month out of that account if we had to put it in. My thinking is that we try to leave enough of a balance in our current checking account, so we really don't have to pull anything out, or if we do, it's maybe a couple times a year. Between the EMS revenue coming in and our quarterly payments from the municipalities, we should be able to kind of balance that out. When I looked this morning, we are hanging right around, I had it written down, it's in my office, we're right around $2 million in money to bank. So 3.82%, you know, if we wanted to move like 1.2 to 1.5 over into that interest account, you know, there's obviously a fair amount of interest there that we would gain each year. So I went over this with Jessica and Ben last week at our fiscal meeting.
Okay, it sounds like a no-brainer.
Is there any particular reason why we weren't in that prior?
You know, we talked about this, and again, Jessica, jump in. I didn't think this was an option before, because I remember it being talked about when Nicole was with Rib Mountain, and we couldn't do it because Rib Mountain had some kind of an account at that time, but that, she always called it a PUD. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was not available anymore, so we couldn't do it at that particular time. But when I asked again when she was here a couple weeks ago, she said,
Excellent. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we move money into the public funds interest bearing account.
Motion by Colden,
I'll second.
second by Cronin. Any more discussion?
does the board want to set a dollar amount, or do you want that to work out between myself and Jessica and Ben, or what's your?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with, yeah. I think we make the motion that this is okay, and then however the fiscal agents work that out is up to them.
Yep, I agree.
Being able to move the assets out of there 8 times a year, that should be plenty.
It's 8 times a month if we.
Oh, 8 times per month. I mean,
Yeah.
oh, geez,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's more than.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right,
Very, so yeah.
hearing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. Let's see, number 9, discussion and consideration to approve the 2025 budget surplus transfer to capital.
Jessica, do you want to go through this? Or do you want me to? We don't have exact dollar amounts yet because the audit's not done, but I think we're around 125-ish. So we'll have surplus funds left over from the operating budget from 2025. We would just like we've done in the past, roll those funds into capital for future purchases.
We've done that in the past, exactly. Good.
And again, we have the exact amount yet because the audit isn't done.
Okay.
Do you have that number?
I believe it was right at 125.
All right, what's your pleasure? Anybody want to move on this?
I'll make a motion to move the 2025 budget surplus to capital.
Motion by Cronin,
I will second that motion.
second by Colden. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you. 10, end of the month budget review.
So obviously, pretty early on in the year here, not a ton to report as of yet. There will be some couple big scary numbers in there already. For example, data center fees are at 73% basically already. That's because we paid for those contracts at the beginning of the year. So there'll be very little that comes out of that account for the remainder of the year. And then, this is the other one here. Computer software, I think that was for Cassell, if I remember right. So it's all those contracts that we pay at the beginning of the year where those numbers get big in a couple of those lines.
Okay. Any questions? Cronin or Colden, any questions or anybody have anything, no comments? No?
Just asking a comment, Josh and I we were talking about the fund balance that Safer has,
Oh.
obviously with the last, agenda, item, we transferred some to capital, but in the future, we want to maybe take a look at fund balance. Is it too high or too low? We were talking that fund balance number might be one reason why we're not getting some grant funds. The board has chosen to keep a percentage in there similar to what the municipalities keep in there, but, talking about that, if that is an indication of why we're not getting some grants, maybe that we want to talk about reducing that amount. I wouldn't recommend using it on operations, but what we could do is if, in the next couple of years, transfer more of that over to capital.
I agree.
What is the percentage that we're
Our
keeping?
policy is 25 to 33. I can get you exact numbers, but we're probably in the 40s.
Yeah,
Right?
that's,
Yeah,
So that's why we're
Yeah.
transferring every year, but we're not using that, because technically we should not be using it for operations. We should be.
Let's,
can we get that on the agenda?
so what I would like to do, if the board is okay with, if we could discuss that in April, I'd like to get past the referendum, and then there will be
Okay.
a couple potential uses for it that I discussed with Jessica. And then we can bring that back.
But that's just something I want everyone thinking about where we want it.
Yeah.
That's acceptable.
Okay,
Thank you. Number 11, attorney referrals. Any attorney referrals? I have none. None? Hearing none, so let's go to F, staff reports. Number 12, report from the chief.
All right, couple things. We had 2 recent fires in the district, one in each village, one on Rose Avenue here in Red Mountain. That started on the exterior. I believe it was electrical. I was not at that one.
It was electrical.
Eric was, but crews again did a good job, knocked it down, kept the damage fairly minimal, but it crawled up on the outside of the house, got into the eaves and started climbing up into the ceiling in the attic space. But they knocked that down and kept it pretty contained. We had another one, last Tuesday in the village. That one caused a little bit more damage. It was a chimney fire that spread into the attic and probably was free burning for a bit before it was noticed. Older house, and those are difficult to control, lots of white spaces in those houses. They're extremely labor intensive. Yep, I forgot about that one. Then we had another one on Lar Avenue in the town of Weston. That was another chimney fire. It was knocked down pretty quickly. And the damage for that one was fairly minimal as well. It's been fairly busy with fires. It is that time of year. But for the most part, they've gone, fairly minimal damage except for that one home. And, no other injuries or anything like that. So that's always good. Our new ambulance is almost done. I will be going to get it the last week of February. So that'll probably be in service. They take a bit to get in service once they get back. We gotta get radios installed, and we do a lot of that stuff here to save some money. So we kind of do it in between calls and stuff like that, but radios gotta get installed. There's some mounts that have to be put in. And then they gotta get filled with all the equipment and oxygen tanks and all that stuff. It takes a little bit of time. So I would say sometime mid to late March should be on the street. Because we do keep 5 ambulances, the ambulance that it was replacing has already been sold. That left last week, one day, Wednesday, Thursday, something. It went to Milwaukee. And then, we had the SUV that was replaced that was sold also. They all get sold on public surplus like we always do. The SUV is actually still here. That's going to the Madison area. We had several of us that went to the WMSA conference in Green Bay last week. Myself, Eric, Kelly, and then help me quickly, 3 paramedics. The 2 paramedics and a basic.
Well, and Evan.
Oh, yeah, and Devin. So we had several people, more than we typically send, to be honest, but some of those things, there's been not a whole lot of interest in lately, so that we had a fair amount of interest this year. And we did have 2 individuals that went that happened to live right next to Green Bay. They live in De Pere, so they didn't require a hotel room, so that saved us some money. So we sent a couple extra people than we normally would. And then the last thing I have is, if Eric can just hang on for 1 second, I have John Hanson in the crowd tonight. He wanted to talk about a citizen academy that the union would like to do. And I just wanted to give him a second to talk about that. And then I believe he wants to potentially invite board members if they'd like to participate. So, John, want to take a couple minutes? It
So
won't be super long. It's just a short overview.
I have a time limit, right? So that's all it's.
If you can talk, you should come over here, so.
See us.
So my name is John Hanson. I'm obviously a member here at Safer. So with the upcoming referendum, we at the union have been discussing the potential of doing a citizens academy. In short, we're doing it 6 hours on March 21st. And it's going to be an inside look at what we do as a fire department, how we operate, why we operate, stuff like that. So I wanted to take this time to invite everybody here at the board. It'll be a small class. I think we're limiting it to 15 with a few special invites. And you folks are the first to get the special invite. So if there's anybody that's interested in that, you can talk to me after the meeting. I think that's so we don't prolong this. But I just want to come here personally and invite everyone. So
What time?
we are looking at it's starting at 9 a.m. and going to 3 p.m. I think that's 6 hours.
Yes.
What day is March 21st?
Saturday.
It'll be a Saturday.
Okay.
Kind of wanted to do it outside of the work week, break before spring break, so.
And I would just add, these have been done many times to different extents. Some of these are 1-dayers like John is proposing here. Some of these take weeks and they do them at night. Both police and fire do these. And then the other thing I would say is that, like John said, we kind of want to give first dibs to any board members. Steve, I guess you'd probably be kind of bored with it. You get the gist of how everything works, but obviously you're still invited. And then,
Is that a hint?
no, no,
I'm in.
as soon as John mentioned it to me.
I'm actually going to be in Miami.
I said, I'm guessing Mr. Cronin would probably not be interested, but, the other thing I would add is that if any board members know anybody from the community or any of the administrators know anybody from the community that you think would be a good fit, direct them over. If I'm easier to contact, that's fine. I can certainly work with John to get people signed up, so.
Excellent idea. March 21st, that is?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, 9 to 3 p.m. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Any more from the chief? Or are you done, Josh?
I'm done.
All right. 13, report from Eric, Deputy Fire Chief. Go
My
ahead.
report's in the packet. Some of the highlights, we ran a promotional process early in January. As one of our engineers resigned in December, firefighter paramedic Hazley is promoted to the rank of engineer. He previously was an engineer with us, and had resigned to pursue a pilot license, but he came back. Out of that, we were super happy. We had 7 applicants and everybody was really strong. We had 3 applicants. So we kept 2 additional people on the list for a year, if another promotion presents itself. Paramedic class started on January 27th, with the 10 individuals attending. It's been good reviews from all 10. The first couple weeks here have been pretty heavy on the instruction. Callie's done the majority of it, and I've done a couple of short classes. Did you want to add anything about paramedic?
Well, I mean, we've got a very diverse group. We've got our interns, we've got some part-time people. We've got even full-time people who have been in the who have decided to do this now. So it's very interesting with the diverseness of the group and what they all contribute to it, but it's really cool to see them all coming together as a cult. They're all sharing things like, what videos they find, what stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited, once we get past some of this more dry material, for them to get to do clinicals and apply it to something.
All right, EMS response, 251 calls. And the EMS response graph is included. 6 calls mutual aid, 4 intercepts, 8 interfacility transfers. We do have a operations meeting in a couple of weeks, and we're gonna be talking with staff about the interfacility transfers to try to boost those numbers.
And I just said,
Sure.
I was gonna say, one of the things with these EMS numbers too, this past month, we've had a lot of very high acuity calls for trauma to the ski hill. I think we were there 5 times within 24 hours. I've had some bad calls there, had a pretty interesting call last evening. So there's been a lot of high acuity traumatic calls this past month.
Is there something that we can do as representatives on those timeframes when there are those calls that is helpful?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
We got several things up here, so.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that we started doing over the last 3 years is, we're more in tune with people's mental health. So when those like high acuity calls come in, we work to get, we have peer
Stress debriefing,
counselors, what is it?
critical incident stress management.
That can talk with the crews. I mean, the one thing that we're lacking right now is chaplain.
Peer support.
Peer support, thank you, Andy. Our chaplain left in November for a position by Kansas City, and he was outstanding. He was amazing. So if anybody knows a chaplain who might be interested, you go to a church that has a really good guy who would be active and be willing to spend some time at the fire department, give them my email.
Does
Please.
they have to be residing in the community or
No.
No.
Be
like the
anywhere.
church doesn't have to be either?
No, they just have to have a willingness to stop it on the station a couple times
Text my
and help us
husband.
out with some.
He's at a church meeting right
some
now,
different
so.
things. And before we had Pastor Swanson, we had talked to 1 or 2 different pastors and kind of discussed what we were looking for. And had a couple of pastors just not work out because they just didn't have the availability. So anyway. Concurrent call data, we're still, looking at the graph, we're still on the same trajectory we were last year with 60/40. Training, 514 hours included in that training. Right now, we're doing ACLS and CPR, and we're doing a lot of refresher type of training. Apparatus report, new car 2 and new car 6 both arrived. New car 2 isn't in service yet. It's still getting the install. New car 6 has been on the road here for a little bit. Fire prevention activities listed and grants. We did receive the Firehouse Subs grant. We haven't put out a press release yet, just because I haven't gotten to it. We will.
Notification.
So the way it's gonna work is they're gonna deposit the funds. Once the funds are deposited, they'll let us know. Then we can purchase the items, and then we have to send a bunch of paperwork showing that we actually purchased the items. But the items we put in for center road technical rescue and specifically water rescue for our waterways with the number of calls that we had last year. The MSA Carnes technical rescue helmets are helmets we've been trying to procure for the last 3 years. They're rather expensive. Our firefighter helmets just are what you want to wear on those calls. And what we have right now are 30-year-old construction helmets that don't protect anything. These helmets have lights on them. We have 4 of them set up specifically for water rescue, so they'll be great additions. The one thing we didn't get with that is that drone that we would like to purchase to help us with that. We're still looking at options for that. Try to get something to bring back to the board. The next grant we'll be putting in for is the AFG grant, which should be opening any day now. What we're gonna put in for is 50 sets of turnout gear, and you asked why. NFPA 1500 says every firefighter should have 2 sets of turnout gear, so after a fire, they have a secondary set they can get into while their turnout gear is being washed. We can't do that right now. We're doing a lot of things for cancer prevention. We got rid of our Class B foam. We have the saunas for cancer prevention. We have 2 hoods for everybody, which is a big cause of cancer. We've tried to get 2 pairs of gloves for everybody, but we just can't afford a $4,000 set of turnout gear for everybody. So that's a grant that we're gonna put in for coming up here. We have not had good luck with that grant. We haven't gotten an AFG grant in a decade.
Yeah, a little over, well, yeah, what a decade.
And part of that reason may be, I mean, they ask in those grants, the SAFER grant, the AFG grant, they always ask what kind of money on hand you have.
So just a stupid question, so I get it, not knowing the history on this. Why can't we use that $2 million for buying stuff?
We
like
just
that?
haven't had the option in the past.
Yeah, those are things we'll bring back to the,
It's just so.
Okay,
we'll come back and talk.
Yeah, I mean, our fund balance hasn't been $2 million. Like 5 years ago, we were negative $600,000, right? So that fund balance has grown to $2 million in the last 5 years, 6 years,
Almost less than that.
something like that.
It's the last 3 years have been really good.
And what's really aided in that fund balance growing was all of the grants that we got during COVID. And all of those grants paid for a lot of the equipment we needed. And now we have new equipment and we have a fund balance, so we don't need to borrow money, and we just haven't taken the next step, which we'll start talking about.
thank you.
If I could just, well, I'm sorry, you're done.
That concludes my report unless anybody has any questions.
I did want to interject one quick thing if I could. Kelly alluded to it earlier about the severity of the calls up at the ski hill, which I would certainly echo. The one thing I did want to mention is that we had a severe traumatic brain injury that occurred up there about 6 weeks ago, is that called?
January 6th.
So that individual, a 19-year-old, I believe he was, for the first probably 24 hours or so, was not expected to survive. And if he did, it wasn't going to be great, we'll just say. But has made about what would you say, a 95% recovery, basically. Still going through some rehab and things like that. But our crew, Callie, was on that call, did a spectacular job. And then had some great care at a local hospital. And then he was transferred about a week later to a fixed wing aircraft and took him to a rehab hospital in Chicago where he spent, I don't know, 10 days or so, I think. And then he's getting some outpatient rehab now in the valley where he lives. But anyway, that individual, I believe, is coming next Tuesday to meet the crew and everything.
Wow.
So we get those very infrequently, so it's kind of a nice thing for the crew. But I was told just the other day that fairly shortly after they got to the hospital that they were talking to his parents about organ donation because it was that ugly, but then he has now basically made a full recovery. So
Has there been any conversations, like, it kind of reminds me of like, when we get a lot of calls to Walmart with Marathon County Sheriff's Department. Have you had conversations with Granite Peak? And, I mean, I know the ski patrol does a fantastic job, but is there something more? I mean,
As far
to
as
prevent those accidents to begin with.
no, I mean, I don't think so. You know, we kind of leave that stuff up to ski patrol and we hear a lot of different things, you know, and take most of it as rumors. I guess my stance on it personally is that it's a decision between the skier and the ski hill.
Yeah.
You know, it's their business and it's the skier's, you know, risk to go up there, I guess. So I try not to get involved in that. I know my sister skis a ton up there and she said that it sounds like the vast majority of these serious incidents have been on one run. And apparently it was closed the other day for several hours, but then they opened it back up. So I'm sure the ski hill management does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're.
I was just curious, I'd like a conversation.
And the incidents, I mean, they happen for a variety of reasons. I mean, a lot of them are out of anybody's control. It just is an accident that happens. And
It's a risky sport.
yeah, it is any kind of outdoor activity like that, there is risk involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Good
That was all
report. Okay, thank you all. Moving on to G, any remarks from the board of directors?
I have nothing.
Okay,
Yeah,
I-
I do want to just bring up, this is brought to my attention today, that there was an opinion piece that was put into the Wausau pilot and review regarding press releases that our team does a really, really nice job of putting out on Facebook and interacting with the public. And I don't know if how I put this, but I think we should maybe take a look at changing how we call it a press release and, you know, maybe officially make it, like I was kind of saying earlier, an incident notification or something along that line. I understand the pilot's point of view where, you know, they're trying to put news out to the public, but I don't think that it is Chief Pinky's job to feed the reporters the news. They should be able to find that on their own. And I thought it was kind of interesting that the Wausau Pilot and Review does have a Facebook page themselves. So you're trying to interact with the local community, putting information out there. I think the vast majority of the responses that we see on Facebook are very, very positive. People are thanking you for what you're doing out there. It's not a negative scenario. And so it's unfortunate that opinion piece, my opinion is that it was unfortunate that opinion piece was put out there. I don't think that was necessary to do. I think you're trying to do a really, really good thing, let people know. But yeah, maybe not call it a press release because it isn't going up with the press. Maybe we just change that name. So thank you for what you do on that. I think it's really good to see that information come out. I think that is good to let the people know what you're trying to do. So
I agree with your assessment, and I followed quite a few emails back and forth to the chief and the pilot. And the most discerning thing is, you know, you send out a press release to the press, and oftentimes it's edited. And, you know, so the way we do this, the way we communicate with our communities, maybe it's just a change of description, you know, community report, whatever. But I think we're fine. And, you know, hearing different agencies, you know, the sheriff's department having to put out more Facebook and more social media stuff to just rebuke some of the editing that goes on with some of the press. So I think we're in great standing. I think that's a great comment, Mr. Colden. And I agree. So I'll tell you, the conversations I have about Safer, the things I hear about Safer, I couldn't be more proud. I am extremely I'm just very thrilled to be part of this and to know all of you and what you do and how you react and the passion and the care that you have for these communities is incredible. So just keep doing what you're doing as far as I'm concerned. And those are my remarks. Thank you.
President, we just want to mention about Monday, just so there's no concern on the referendum resolution being on the agenda again on Monday.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're good. Yep.
So the referendum is on the agenda on Monday because a technical error was found when it was sent to the DOR. It's updated on our website, but it is taken care of and there's a path forward, but I just don't want anyone to have a surprise if it's on there. Yeah.
I'd just like to add on our Facebook page, we had over 75,000 hits in the last 28 days. And,
Wow. Wow.
We've had over 18,000 hits in the last 7 days. Our last press had like 15,000 hits.
That's fantastic.
you're engaging with the public, and Facebook is about as public as you can get. I mean, there's over 2 billion subscribers to that. So, I mean, I think the spirit of what you're trying to do is the correct way. So I'll just end it with that.
Oh, good stuff. Thank you all. Let's see, with no more remarks, next meeting date?
March 10th.
Okay. And anything for the agenda? Anything that somebody wants to submit for the agenda or talk to the chief?
Potentially on that date, we will be having a badge pinning and commendation ceremony.
I heard cake. That's what I heard when you said that before.
Okay. She heard cake? What?
Cake.
All right.
Typically, we do those ceremonies just before the
board meeting, but.
Yep.
I would invite everybody to keep an hour or so before the board meeting here for that.
Okay.
Outstanding. All right, with nothing else, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn by Colden, second by Cronin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. We are adjourned at 6:24. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Eric, you should get a hold of, yeah. Priest over at Redeemer.
We're gonna-
Weston.